2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How do I navigate healing with my partner when they haven't gone to therapy? Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Tyler.
Brandon,
dude,
what's going on, man?
You're looking good today, man.
Just normal.
Man, you're a good looking guy, though. I get to wake up on a Monday morning. Usually Mondays suck, whatever. It's always great for me because I get to see your smiling face.
Whatever, man. It's those flowing Fabio locks that make my day, man. So you're the one with the nice hair. I'm just like this short haired, kind of starting to bald on the front kind of a guy. So
yeah, well, hey, you're definitely the best looking brother. Sorry, Rue.
That's absolutely not true at all. So
yeah.
Anyways, I wanted to, just before we jump in today, Brandon, I just wanted to mention to all of our listeners again, we mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but we have the Rising Sun website for the Rising Sun conference is live now. We've already sold about half of the tickets already. And just wanted to mention it for our listeners again, to go look at risingsun.org. Again, risingsun.org, and give it a look if you're interested in possibly coming and have a full experience with us as it relates to, healing as a man with not just sex addiction, but growing into, the life God designed you for.
Yeah. Just embracing who you are, your masculinity. And, but one thing I want to say about that is don't procrastinate it. Go sign up now. It's up in Bear Lake, Utah, the end of September. And it's awesome, but it will fill up. So if you procrastinate, you'll be on our wait list when we're partying up there in September. So go sign up now.
Great. All right, Brandon, let's jump into it. Today we've got you, Brandon, which is what your pet peeve is that you always get called Brandon, and our guest name today is Brandon. So yeah, we might just be going back and forth here, but Brandon, welcome to the show. So glad you're willing to come on today. Why don't you just give us a little bit of background and then ask your question and we'll have a discussion.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. A little bit of background, I guess. So me and my husband, we met in 2016. Started dating. We ended up moving in together late 2016. And I mean, basically we just started hanging out and just never really stopped. I mean, we just clicked. It was great. Things were awesome. About a year or so after we started meeting, and I mean, I had addiction problems beforehand too. When we met, I feel like I was in a really good place of control at the time. Had things under control. I'd just come out of the closet a few years before. I was kind of living off of that high. Things were pretty good, and then I just fell back into the addiction about a year or so after we initially met. I kept everything from him for years. We ended up getting married in 2018. And still just couldn't. I mean, I had lulls and times I could keep away from it, but it took control. And in June of 22 was D-Day. That's when everything came out. He found everything pretty much, and we separated for a couple months. There was an extended disclosure during that couple months. He found more in some older phones about how far back it actually went and how bad it actually all was. Like I said, we separated for about 2 months. I just went to work down in New Mexico. In September of last year, we decided we were going to try things out again, got back together. We moved houses. We tried to do everything on our own. I wasn't ready to admit that I had an addiction. I wasn't ready to break up with it yet. I was seeing a therapist. It wasn't a sex addiction therapist. It wasn't the right therapist. I wasn't in the right therapy. I mean, it helped, but it wasn't what I needed. It wasn't actually getting into recovery. And I had a couple of relapses, getting back on apps and doing things I shouldn't. And in January, that got discovered, and we separated again in January. Since then, I have found a sex addiction therapist. Started seeing him in February. Started going to the SAA groups in March. And I found my path to recovery. And the big thing is, I hope it's not too late, but it might be. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Just making sure I understand, your most recent disclosure or discovery was in January of this year.
Yeah. I had 2 or 3 relapses just getting on apps and talking to people that I shouldn't.
Gotcha. And since then, you've kind of gotten into like more targeted, specific kinds of like recovery work. Then. Yeah.
I'd say February is when my recovery work actually started legit.
Okay.
So talk about your recovery work. So you got in with a CSAT. You say you're going to a group.
Yeah.
What have been some of the big shifts and the things that have happened in your recovery work?
I mean, really the biggest shifts is finding out about myself, and when kind of where all this stemmed from in the beginning, really. I mean, the things that I've found out over the last 6-7 months, the big things are just from me as to why I've acted the way I've acted and things that I've done. I mean, it's not to say I had a bad childhood, but it was super neglectful. It was my dad was a extreme sex addict, and he never gave it up, and that's what split my parents up when I was 18. And
how many siblings do you have, Brandon?
I've got an older sister and then a younger brother and sister.
Okay.
And then I think with my dad being the way he was, I think there was some covert incest tendencies between my mom and me, because she couldn't get the emotional support from my dad. Obviously, that wasn't available ever. And then and also me and my older sister were adopted, and then my younger brother and sister were naturally born. And I think that plays a little bit of a part too. I think so. My mom and dad adopted me and my older sister. They felt they were ready to raise kids. And then 8 years down the road, all of a sudden they had 2 kids.
Wow.
And I think that was kind of because my mom couldn't have kids forever and ever and ever. And then all of a sudden, bam, there's 2 new kids that they were not ready for, were, ready to take care of. And I think that made a big shift in my childhood right then, for sure. Things changed a lot at that point when I was a kid.
That 8-year gap, it's almost like 2 separate families in some ways. Yeah. So Brandon, you were talking, the question you brought up was about your current relationship. Could I just ask you, like, it says you got emotional when you were talking about this, like you don't know if it's too late or not. What's the state of your relationship right now?
Right now we're separated. Divorce papers have been filled out since March. They haven't been filed yet. And just kind of in this holding pattern of not knowing what's going to happen, really.
Gotcha.
You guys talk a lot?
There's been times where we do talk, and then there's been lulls where we don't, and it's kind of been back and forth somewhat.
Where's he at? Is it just a lot of anger right now, or is it sadness, or kind of a mix of everything?
Yeah, not a whole lot of anger. It's mostly sadness, anxiety, fear. A lot of that. Just the pain that I've caused is. I built this amazing world that he thought that he lived in, and then I destroyed it. And that sucks. But I did that.
And he was faithful and loyal and all those things, and you destroyed that with your sex addiction. Yeah. That hurts. And I can see the pain in your eyes too, realizing how much he loves you and that you've hurt somebody who you love a lot and who loves you. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I hurt the most important person in this world to me in the worst way.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of different ways to go with this one. I want to kind of respect where your question was at today. There's a lot of other places I'd like to go with you right now too, Brandon. And before we go any further, I just want you to know that line that you just spoke is one that ran through my head 1,000 times during the process of our own recovery with me and my wife. To have to look myself in the mirror and go, the very thing that I wanted least was to hurt the person that mattered the most. And yet it was the deception that did the hurting until it came to light, which is it now has for you. And I get it. I see the look in your face. I can hear it in your voice. Like I get that feeling of devastation. And as painful as it is to be where you're at right now, I think you're in a good spot because now you're in the reality of it, which is going to allow you to hopefully start to climb out of the shame of it and take a look at your life in a way where you can start to move forward with different choices than maybe you were making in the past, regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know that I see you and I feel you. And let's talk a little bit more just about your relationship. Brandon kind of asked this, but how often do you guys talk about the work that you're doing, the things that you're learning, the process that you're trying to work? Do you guys have discussions about that right now?
A little bit. I mean, we did. They're not very consistent. I mean, I try and bring them to him to see if he's ready to hear some of it or not. I don't know when to broach that subject with him a lot of the time. So
do you know what he wants? Does he want to reconcile? Does he want to move toward divorce?
Yeah, I think he wants to move towards divorce.
Has he decided on that? Has he told you that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been back and forth a couple times. So in March, I believe it was like the end of March, he went to file the papers, and then there was something wrong with them that he couldn't, I guess.
Okay.
And then I begged him not to. I begged him to go talk to a therapist first, at least give it a few sessions before he filed them. And then we've been in a holding pattern kind of since then. It was about a month ago. He gave me a letter when we were moving out of our house that said that, he needed the divorce. He needed to move on and build his own life, And I gave him a letter back just kind of explaining what I knew about my recovery and what I've learned and where I'm at and what I got going on. And then since then, we've just been talking a little bit here and there.
I was working with I've seen this several times. We're working with a couple, and she was done. She was ready to divorce him and be done. had written up the divorce papers, and she was saying things like, God has told me that divorce is the answer. That's what I need to do. And he was not done. He wanted to stay married. He wanted to fight for the relationship. And so, I'd meet with her individually, and we'd talk, and I would absolutely validate her, support her, and back her up to move forward with the divorce. And then I'd meet with him individually, and I would say, fight like hell for her. Make it extremely difficult for her to divorce you, not because you're being a difficult asshole, because you are being such a man in recovery, it's hard to walk away from you. Because if you feel like God is asking you to fight for her, then you need to fight for her. And if she feels like God is asking her to divorce him, then she needs to move toward divorce, right? And it's this weird thing of like, how can both those things coexist together, right? But what it does is it separates out the relationship a little bit, and it focuses more on who am I and what is good for me, and it works itself out. So maybe this one couple I'm talking about has ended up in many ways reconciling. So they go through the divorce and all of that, and they've reconciled in the long run. Now that doesn't always happen. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what the future holds, but we do know what you feel right now and how you're feeling. And so, Brandon, if I were to ask you that, if he's saying, I want to move toward divorce, you're begging him not to divorce you. But I want you not just to what your heart is saying, and you don't want to deal with the pain and the emotions. What is your gut saying? What is your truth saying about what is the best thing for you moving forward when it comes to your relationship?
The best thing for me is to be with him and to actually both of us communicate properly in a healthy relationship, because I don't think we've ever had that. And on both sides, I was horrible at it for sure at a lot of things, but there was a lot of problems on the other side too that were never expressed and talked about properly either.
So with that answer though, Brandon, that like how much control do you have over that equation? If the best thing is for you to be with him and to communicate in a healthy way and all those things, how much do you have, control over? How much can you affect there?
All I can do is come to it open and honest and be me.
Right. So it's just 50%. So he can still walk away. He can still be done. And he has a right to.
Yeah.
And right. And that's where it's really difficult, because you cannot force him or control him or guilt trip him or all those things to get him to stay.
Yeah.
He, with his heart, needs to choose in. Right. And that's out of your control.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really difficult.
I think Brandon, like maybe where you're going, and just a different way of framing this a little bit, is that when we work with couples who kind of end up in the same spot as where you're at right now, Brandon, there's a couple ways that the person who wants to save the relationship will go that is actually not very helpful for a long-term recovery, and in turn won't be helpful for a long-term relationship, even though it's what they're trying to do. And they'll either go one way in their shame and go like, I'll file the divorce papers, you deserve somebody better, even though that's not what they really feel and what they think. But they're like, I'm going to show how much I care about you by not being honest with myself, and I'll go release you and surrender you, and I'll push you away, right? Or they come back the other direction, and they're like begging, like, please don't leave, please don't leave. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. Either one of those isn't actually authentic, and the pathway forward is actually through authenticity, which is showing up with the strength of your honesty, while also offering and acknowledging the 50% that you don't have control over. So in essence, the energy of it becomes, I know that you're hurting bad right now, and I know that you might be leaning out right now. I hope that that's not where we end up. I'm going to continue to fight for our relationship for as long as you're here and as long as you give me that opportunity. And I respect that you need to do whatever you do for yourself. But in the meantime, this is my plan. This is what I'm learning. This is my plan to move forward. And this is where I hope we end up. Right. It's okay that's a different energy than please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. Like I promise this or this or this or this or this. Right.
Yeah. And that's definitely where I am now. Like back in March, like I said, when I begged, I was definitely at the begging, please don't. And, and since then, I mean, that's where I'm at now is look, I don't want it. And I understand if you do, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't have control over that. And the other part of that is that I understand why he wouldn't want to stay in the relationship. I do. I completely get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is where Brandon was coming to. This is perfect. So to get to where you're currently coming to, even though I know I can feel it from you that you really don't want a divorce, is that by approaching it from that perspective, you not only surrender the parts that are outside of your control, but it puts the focus back on the things you do have control of, which is for as long as I'm in this relationship, this is how I'm going to fight for it. And now you're taking accountability for your own choices and actions instead of waiting for the other person to make you feel better or assure you that it's going to be okay or whatever else.
This is the catch-22, and it's really kind of confusing. It sounds like you want to fight for him, that you want that relationship.
100%.
And one of the best things to do to fight for him is to let him go. And do you understand what I mean by that?
Like kinda, I guess. Not really.
It's be okay with the fact that he could be totally done. And when I say be okay, I'm not saying don't have any pain around that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I mean is that you are confident within yourself. You've dealt with those father wounds that you brought up earlier. You know who you are, that if he walked away, that you don't get caught up in all that abandonment and that rejection and all that stuff. You can stand on your own 2 feet and actually like really empathize and love him through the pain of him having to do that. Right.
Yeah.
So when I say let him go, what I mean is your worth, your value, your world being okay cannot be dependent upon him. And so when you let him go, you take all of that off of him. That's not his anymore. That's Brandon's, and that's between you and God, right? And once you have that, then you can actually love him like crazy. You can love him right where he's at. You can validate him. You can show up in strength. And it comes back to what Tyler was talking about. You're not showing up in begging, weakness. Please don't leave me. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's the basis of your sex addiction, Brandon. That's why you've gone out and acted out, because you're seeking validation. You're seeking wanting to be loved.
Yeah.
And you can't apply that to try to salvage this relationship now, or else you're just kind of perpetuating the same energy again and again. Right?
Yeah. And that's where I was definitely a couple months ago for sure. I was still there at that point. And I feel like I'm moving into the stronger where I can take it on myself. And I mean, I will be okay even if he does ultimately decide to be out. It'll hurt and it'll suck, but it'll just be what it's going to be.
Yeah. Tyler, you got a question?
I'm wondering too, like, I think I actually hear you working towards that place right now, Brandon. And that's a hard place to work towards because it feels so counterintuitive. It's like that Passengers song, Let Her Go, where, if you love him, then you let him go. And it's like, it feels counterintuitive. But what Brandon's saying is let go of the outcome of that so that you can put your focus on being your best self. And that's the best chance you have anyway. I'm kind of wondering if you're also running into a situation with this, that this is common for other relationships that we work with a lot, is when you're the one wanting to save the relationship and hold the relationship, you almost find yourself sometimes in a spot where you don't know what to talk about because you're learning in recovery. I want to be authentic. I want to be honest. I want to be transparent. I want to talk about even the things that I'm learning, but I'm so afraid that anything I say or do is going to trigger my partner so much that they might then leave me, or they might push away further, or they might disappear. And I don't want to, number one, cause them more pain. And number two, I don't want to run the risk of losing them. And so then you're stuck in this like sort of a pinch point of, how do I move forward in the relationship the way that I'm being taught in my recovery, knowing that there might be these risks involved of my partner like not being able to hold what I give them. I just was wondering, like, do you run into that issue at all right now, Brandon?
Yes, I'd say somewhat. I mean, the big thing is that I don't know how to properly explain this, I guess. Because I feel like when I bring something up that does trigger him, he just shuts down. And like if we're face to face, I can see that, and then I can kind of skirt around that to something else that's not going to affect him that way. But when I can't, when it's over the phone or through text, I can't see that reaction to it. So I don't know to maybe slow down or ease back a little. You know what I mean?
So you're not opposed to stepping into some of those conversations, but because of the nature of how the conversations are going right now, you're not able to have a full body of information because it's done over the phone, or it's done in ways where you don't get to read that body language and know how you want to approach it, or how you want to kind of attune to his feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of leaves you in the dark a little bit.
A little sometimes.
Tyler, there's I'm going to give away one of our big secrets here, Tyler. So
okay,
yeah.
Everybody listen up. I don't even know what it is, Brandon, but everyone listen up.
Big secrets. Okay. So when you start a relationship, so like when a client comes in to meet with a therapist, one of the first things the therapist has to do is build trust, because you're going to work through some hard things, and you're going to step into some hard things. And so if you don't have trust, let's say a client walks right in and I just start like hammering away, like, let me tell you some truths about your life. Here you go. Bam, bam, bam. What are they going to do?
They're going to run away.
Yeah. I hate that.
F him.
Yeah, he sucks.
That sucks.
He sucks. And so Tyler, what do we got to do?
We build trust. We take time. We validate. We build some currency so that there's something to draw from when we push for change.
Yeah. So we call it currency or collateral, or you think about it as a bucket, right? Full of trust. And you actually take withdrawals from that trust at times when you have to get really honest and you have to get really real with somebody. So now here you think about your situation, Brandon. Here you are, you started a relationship. He gave of his trust probably pretty freely, and he opened up his heart and he gave that to you. And so you have a bit more of a challenge than just some client walking into mine and Tyler's office, because he filled up that trust bucket and you took it and you turned it around,
dumped it out,
spilled it all over the ground, then you kicked it down the road.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so now you're looking at it and you're like, gal, in order to build trust with him, and have a relationship, I gotta be honest. I want to walk through difficult things with him and do this. So how do I get it where he feels safe enough with me to actually do that hard, honest work with him? Because I've destroyed the trust so bad that I don't know how to even, get him to do that with me. Yeah. And the trust equation is interesting. It comes back to what I was saying earlier. You really got to have a ton of empathy for his pain. So that's where it starts, is sex addiction. When you're in your addiction, you have a hard time understanding how much you're actually hurting your partner, because you're acting out in it. You're coming out of that now, Brandon.
You can feel it in you. You're definitely feeling now.
Yeah, you're feeling it.
I'm a different person than I was 3 months ago, 100%.
Whether or not he acknowledges that or not, he needs to feel from you that you're feeling his pain. That's step number one. Like, oh my gosh, what I've done is not okay. I have hurt you. You can be angry. You can be sad. You can be whatever your grief is right now with this. That's okay. Right. But at the same time, you need enough strength and enough honesty. So let's say he takes that anger or sadness and he wants to call you every name in the book and hit you. And no, because you're going to be honest enough to say that doesn't work for me. Okay. I'm still me. I'm still here in the relationship. I see your pain and here's my truths. Okay. So that honesty and empathy, you got to be consistent with it over time. Okay. So that's your side of the fence that you can do. You start with heavy empathy, tons of empathy. You add in that real strength and that honesty. You do that over time. There's another side to it. Honesty, empathy, and consistency over time, plus your partner's risk-taking, your partner's vulnerability. You can't build the trust back unless he extends trust again with you, right? Mm-hmm. So what's in your control is to be honest, empathetic, and consistent with him. But your recovery, you do your wound work, you do your trauma work, you do all those things to root out anything that undermines you being that in the relationship. You do everything you can so that you're an honest, empathetic, and consistent partner. And then you hope that he feels that from you and opens his heart again. And right now, like Tyler said, January, you're in the early stages. He's right where he should be with his pain, sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dabbling on divorce and ambivalent about the relationship and not really wanting to get too close to you. That's right where he should be.
Yeah. And I've been horrible in the beginning of it too. I mean, I pushed a lot. I told him we need to make a decision. I was not empathetic.
Let's throw patience in my equation too, right?
Yeah. I know I need patience, and I am trying really hard to patience has never been good for me.
Yeah.
Not that it's not good for me. It's just not something I've ever been good at. And I'm trying to get that.
Well, it's hard when there's so much on the line for you, when you care so much, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels almost insurmountable. But I want to go a little further with what your analogy was, Brandon, because I think where you're going is perfect with what Brandon, his question is that if as a therapist, once you have that currency of trust built, like once the client knows, oh man, they really are in my corner, they want to fight for me, they love me, they care for me, and we show up, consistently for our clients. At a certain point, it's on us to also help facilitate some of that potential shift for change, right? Mm-hmm. So in Brandon's situation, if he's showing up consistently, patiently, with empathy and honesty over time, as that currency starts to build, which, it's really fresh right now, it will be okay and maybe even encouraged to lovingly and kindly also invite the potential for that change to happen. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, as I have some level of currency to draw from now, I can go to my client and I can say, hey, let's just say forgiveness for a betrayed partner. If they come in on the very first day and you're like, all right, the pathway through this is you see how much pain he's in, forgive him. It'd be like Christ, 7 times 70. They're never coming back. But if I build trust with that betrayed partner, and then I say, after that currency of trust there, I say, man, your life looks miserable because it looks like you're holding on to some things that are causing a ton of pain. Like, it might not hurt to start looking at ways to maybe let that pain go for yourself, right? That's the same thing as saying you need to forgive, but it's done with currency. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say, hey, you look kind of miserable now. Like, something needs to shift in you, right? Yeah. You just can't do that for your own gratification, Brandon, and you can't do it if you don't have that empathy and trust that started to be being rebuilt.
Yeah. I think a simpler way to put that is absolutely, when you have that trust, then conflict can be a good thing in the relationship and needs to be there. You are different than him, and your honest truths need to be heard and to be there. And the more trust you have, the more he's going to extend a willingness to hear your side of those things. The less trust you have, the more he'll just be like, oh, that's a hard thing that I don't agree with, that I don't want to do. Like, whatever, Brandon. Right. So, but conflict, and whether we would call it conflict or whatever,
healthy tension,
honesty, like when you're different, when you're interdependent, that's a good thing in the relationship. But there is, and what Tyler's talking about in this whole analogy with, a client coming into a therapist, a lot of times, Brandon, what your original question was like, what do I do here? And what people don't understand is that this is not a checklist. It's not therapy's going to fix it. Awesome. This is a grieving process. This is a process. And his feelings probably come and go like waves, where there's hope for the relationship, then there's anger, and there's, and so like that patience thing really is important, where you take a step back and understand what's actually happening here. And what you don't want to do is, as he's going through that process and he's healing, and some days it might really seem like he's not healing because he's angry or whatever, is to then throw another wrench in the mix. So what you focus on is, I'm going to do my work to make sure that I don't throw a wrench in the middle of that again and start at square one or worse again. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I've definitely thrown a lot of wrenches at that.
Right. Sure. Right. He's been in the process before, and you're like, here's another one.
Yeah. Take this. Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah. I want to ask you, do you feel like disclosure, like, are you all clear? Or do you feel like, okay, it's all out there, I'm moving forward now?
Yeah. I mean, it's all out there. I mean, I still feel that if we end up reconciling, I feel like we should go through another one, just because, to work that process, in therapy together with, the right way, because we definitely did it the wrong way.
Sure. You don't have any major bombs that never dropped. Okay.
No, there are no. Yeah, all the major bombs are out.
Because this conversation, because it's crazy. I have to even ask that, but this conversation that you're wanting to have with us right now, the guys want to have it all the time, and they have these bombs in the background. And it's like, why are we having this conversation about empathy and building trust? Because you can do major, major, major damage to your relationship when you start the trust building process with skeletons in the closet, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, there are no deep skeletons left anymore. I mean, last June was the big bomb, and then like 2 to 3 weeks later was when he went through my old phones and found the bigger bombs. And I mean, that was everything right there, all the way back. There's nothing left to drop that hasn't dropped.
Okay.
I just add maybe one more thing to what your original question was here for a second too, Brandon. It's as you kind of start to move forward here, whether you can only be as involved as he will allow you to be in his own process, but there is something that's happening where you're jumping in and you're starting to see the light of a new life for yourself and realize that you don't have to be shackled the way that you have for as long as you have. And you're learning to speak a new language, and you want to be able to have your partner speak the same language as you. And he hasn't decided to necessarily get the same kind of help as you yet. Right. A lot of times a guy like you will approach your partner and say, it'll all come from like just your perspective of, I want you to be able to speak my language. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. If the approach was slightly different, I want you to get whatever you need, including your own healing. And I happen to believe that there's some things that could actually help you. Like, I want you to be able to have a place to talk with somebody. I want you to have a place to work the grieving process. I want you to have a place to have someone else support you in the pain that I've caused you, because I know I can't be that place right now. I support you 100% to go and get some support. And here are some places that I think might be helpful for you. Now you're showing love and concern towards your partner in encouraging them to get help, instead of showing selfishness to say, like, hurry and go get help so I can talk with you about these things, right? Because then they feel blamed. They feel diminished, they feel devalued, they feel invalidated. And so making sure that the way that you invite that process to happen is done from a place of concern and care and compassion rather than self-interest.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I want you to do it. So yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah. Which is really hard when the truth is that you do have your own self-interest in the midst. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like, so with the last couple of deep letters we exchanged, I feel like that I portrayed better that empathy towards that.
Yeah. It's I was at a conference years ago. Tyler, you might have been there with me, but this couple was getting interviewed, and she was talking about, she said to the therapist, like, how do I know he's safe, and how do I know I can trust him, and how do I know he's in recovery? And the therapist just said, you'll know. So you feel it. It really is. I was coming back to energy. It's an energetic thing. It's wow. Like they have peace in their soul now. They're wide open. They're not hiding. They can hold pain and not shy away from it. They can hold my pain. And so when somebody's acting out in an addiction, there's so much darkness. There's so many secrets. There's just so many lies everywhere that they can't.
You don't want to show yourself to anybody. Like, I mean, there's so much of yourself you're scared of that.
Right.
I mean,
and so think as the partner, what they feel when they're in that relationship with you, like, hey, like something's off. This is not like, so recovery is the opposite of that. Wow. Like he's available to actually connect to on an intimate level. I had a client years ago. His wife got really mad at him about something she found on his phone. Didn't talk to him for a week, and the story came to where it was like the thing she found wasn't what she thought it was, and he had done nothing wrong. And the old him would have just driven it home to her, like, see, look how good I am, and you're crazy, and blah blah. And the new recovery him stopped and just held space for her and said, "Gal, like to be in a relationship like this where you find something like that and it freaks you out all week long, that's got to be really hard for you to feel like you can't get close to me and talk to me about that. Tell me how you're feeling." Like that's way different. The feeling of that guy is way different than the old addict guy, right?
Yeah.
So your partner will be able to feel that from you if he gives you a chance, right? He might put his walls up too much to not give you that chance. I hope that he does, Brandon.
Well, I mean, and that'd be fair for him to do too. You know, like that's
right.
You know, I understand why he would want to do that. You know, I've only come to that understanding recently, obviously, but I get it. You know, like. And I just want to do whatever I can to be the most beneficial for him, I guess, you know, just to like, I mean, I want to do me, you know, I want to be me. I want to have what I need.
Right.
But I also want to be able to support and give the care that he needs too. And however he wants it, you know.
Yep.
Brandon, we're getting a little short on time here. I just want to check in with you on a couple of things. Number one, what are you kind of just feeling emotionally right now? And then number two, is there anything else that we've left uncovered?
I mean, right now, honestly, I'm feeling calm, honestly, emotionally. Like, I mean, this is a good talk. And I don't really think of anything else like super right at the forefront here to go over.
This discussion. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, no, go ahead, Brandon. I'll go after you.
I was just going to say this discussion, it has been really good. It's to highlight kind of this process because it's so tricky and difficult. Your individual recoveries happen and they happen at their own pace. And then the relationships involved in the middle of it all. And it's like, well, I want to focus on the relationship, which undermines kind of the recovery in some ways. And so I'm sure anybody listening, there's a lot of people that can relate to this. You're at the beginning of, well, I wouldn't even call it the messy middle. You're at the beginning here, stepping into figuring out how to navigate these things. So this discussion's been awesome, Brandon. I'm sure it's been helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. I just want to add to that for a minute, Brandon, and say, number one, it took a lot of courage for you to come on the podcast today. And I know that a lot of our people can only hear you because they're just listening to the podcast. I hope that what they've felt as they've listened to you is what I've been feeling as I've been seeing you and listening to you in our meeting, which is I can sense genuineness. I can sense sincerity. I can sense a broken heart that really is committed to the process of change. And there's also inside of you, there is an inner strength that is kind of shining through. And I just want you to know that I feel that and I see that. And I want to thank you for bringing that into my life today. So thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Is there one thing I'd like to bring up? Maybe we could talk afterwards, though.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's fine.
I appreciate you, Brandon, and we'll sign off here. You guys, if this was helpful, please share it. And please, if you want to say thank you to Brandon, hop on, leave us a review and mention his name. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.